Tonight, breaking news. The soaring death toll in the massive earthquake across Southeast Asia. Buildings collapsing, the frantic search for the missing. Here at home, deadly floods and wildfires, and the major cross-country storm. First, the quake devastation throughout Southeast Asia, stretching hundreds of miles. An entire 34-story building in Bangkok crashing to the ground. People fleeing for their lives as a cloud of dust and debris fills the air. More than 100 construction workers believed trapped. The sheer force of this massive quake reaching as far away as southern China. Debris from a building raining down. The desperate effort to find survivors. A young boy pulled from the rubble. Water from a rooftop pool spilling down hundreds of feet to the streets. Our Britt Clennett on the scene in Bangkok tonight. Here at home, the deadly floods in Texas. Up to 18 inches of rain in some places. Hundreds of water rescues. And in the Carolinas, the complete opposite. Red flag warnings as wildfires explode, and our weather team timing out this weekend's massive cross-country storm. The frigid response in Greenland after President Trump declares we have to have the island. Vice President Vance traveling there to make the case, what he said when asked if the U.S. military will take Greenland by force. Terry Moran from Greenland, and what he's hearing from the people who live there. Stocks plunge on Wall Street amid uncertainty over President Trump's tariffs as the president and Canada's new prime minister hold a high-stakes phone call. The urgent manhunt here in New York tonight for two men who police say carved a swastika into a Cybertruck. Elon Musk vowing to target those responsible for attacks on Tesla ahead of calls for a nationwide day of protest against the car company. King Charles appears in public one day after a brief hospital stay, the latest on his condition. And America Strong tonight, the heartwarming story behind this high school band and a now viral moment of joy.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Whit Johnson, in for David. We begin with that breaking news. Desperate rescue efforts happening right now across Southeast Asia after that massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake. The epicenter in the war-torn country of Myanmar, but the impact reaching as far away as southern China. This is the moment a 34-story building under construction came crashing down in Bangkok. Workers running for their lives. Clouds of dust and debris filling the air. More than 100 workers believed trapped inside. Rooftop pools spilling out waves of water hundreds of feet down. Buildings toppling over, many that didn't collapse, leaning precariously. In southern China, debris raining down onto a city street. The desperate rescue efforts now around the clock, this moment showing crews saving a young boy from the rubble. The extent of the devastation is yet to be fully revealed, but the death toll is expected to surge. ABC's Britt Clennett leads us off from the scene in Bangkok.
This is the moment that catastrophic earthquake rocked Southeast Asia, toppling buildings, sending panicked crowds fleeing and causing widespread death and destruction. This bridge falling into a muddy river. Myanmar taking a direct hit. More than 150 people killed across the region, hundreds more injured. In Bangkok, Thailand, that entire 34-story skyscraper still under construction crashes down to the ground as workers flee for their lives. Clouds of dust and debris filling the air. Jack Brown on a nearby highway watching as the building fell.
It was just horrifying to see that destruction.
A desperate search for survivors tonight, rescuers carrying out the injured. Digging through the rubble, shouting to anyone who might be trapped. More than 100 people still missing here tonight.
This is a massive search operation. Crews here are working all through the night, searching for any signs of life in that giant piece of rubble.
The epicenter more than 600 miles from Bangkok in central Myanmar, a nation torn by years of civil war, now devastated by a monster 7.7 magnitude quake. Buildings left leaning on their foundations. Rescuers cheering the incredible moment a child is pulled from a flattened building alive. Historic temples destroyed, this man narrowly escaping death.
I was praying the pagoda in monastery, and suddenly the ground was started shaking. We were so shocked at the time. The monastery suddenly fell down.
More than 450 miles from the epicenter of that quake, people in Yunnan province, China, also feeling the tremors. Horrific videos showing the moment falling debris rained down on people below this 31-story building. Back here in Bangkok, the violent shaking sending water spilling out of rooftop pools, cascading down high-rises. American expat Deborah Punachet has been living in Thailand for 28 years.
I was in my lazy boy and all of a sudden it moved back and forth and then it toppled over.
Authorities now warning millions to be alert, the region already hit by a powerful 6.4 magnitude aftershock.
Yeah, those aftershocks a major concern. Britt Clennett live on the scene of that deadly building collapse in Bangkok. And Britt, the true scope and toll from this massive quake still unclear tonight.
That's right, Whit. You can see this massive pile of debris behind me. There's still very much an active search going on. And Whit, we don't know the true extent of the destruction of this quake across the region. And tonight, the U.S. is vowing to help, Whit.
Desperate rescue efforts there. Britt Clennett for us tonight. Thank you. Meantime, back here at home, the flood emergency in Texas has turned deadly. At least 3 people have died. Parts of the state receiving more than a foot of rain, flooding roads, submerging cars. First responders performing hundreds of water rescues. Meantime, to the east, the Carolina wildfires exploding in size as hundreds of firefighters race to get the upper hand. ABC's Faith Abube in Saluda, North Carolina, again tonight.
Tonight, more danger for the Deep South after a flash flood emergency overnight. Buckets of rain in South Texas, more than a foot of rain in spots, killing at least 3 people. First responders in boats rescuing dozens of people from their vehicles in McAllen. Vehicles bobbing in the water. In the Carolinas, new red flag warnings and dangerous conditions for firefighters on the front lines battling the Black Cove Complex fire in North Carolina. Crews intentionally set this fire just feet away from this house, burning up all the debris that a wildfire could use to destroy it. The fire is still just 17% contained. Is there a physical impact on your firefighters as they're out there working hours on end?
Fatigue. So this is my local district here. We've been fighting fire for over a month now.
In South Carolina, the Table Rock Complex fire exploding and expanding in size overnight, now nearly 17 square miles.
We got a lot of work to do. It's going to take a long time to get this contained.
Authorities say charges for those responsible for setting the Table Rock fire are coming, but the priority now is fighting the flames. And with those gusty winds are picking up again, but it's the dry conditions that have firefighters the most concerned. That's because any fires that break out can spread quickly, but there is rain in the forecast on Sunday and again on Monday, and can't come soon enough. Whit.
Yeah, a silver lining there. Faith, thank you. Let's get right to meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. And Danny, that severe weather threat on the move tonight.
Yes, tonight, Whit, East Texas into parts of Louisiana under a tornado watch until 7 p.m. local time as that heavy rain that we just saw continues from Lake Charles this evening into New Orleans tomorrow. Then our attention turns to that next major storm system crossing the country, set to bring a dangerous severe weather risk to millions this weekend. The threat begins tomorrow night across portions of the plains, but Sunday brings greater concern with a severe outbreak looking more likely. Damaging wind, large hail, tornadoes, they're all possible for many major metro areas from Little Rock to Indianapolis. This weekend's threat continues east into Monday, bringing the chance for damaging wind, large hail and lightning from the southeast up the I-95 corridor. So much of the country dealing with several days of dangerous impacts. Whit?
A difficult weekend ahead. Danny Beckstrom, it's great to have you. Thanks so much. Turning now to President Trump's tariff threats and the nosedive on Wall Street. The Dow plunging hundreds of points to close the week. Canada's Prime Minister speaking with President Trump today and how he's now promising to retaliate for the tariffs the U.S. has imposed on Canadian goods. ABC's senior political correspondent Rachel Scott at the White House.
Tonight, anxiety over inflation and President Trump's escalating trade war sending markets into free fall. The Dow plunging more than 700 points. The president began the day touting a, quote, extremely productive call with Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney, saying we, quote, agree on many things. What he didn't mention was that Carney told him that Canada would soon retaliate for the tariffs Trump imposed on Canadian products.
You said if that were to happen, that you would be responding with large-scale tariffs. Will you be following through with that promise?
Well, absolutely. But we had a very good conversation. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada.
But right now, that relationship is the rockiest it's been in decades.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
Trump's steep new tariffs are set to kick in next Thursday, including 25% tariffs on all cars and auto parts made outside the United States. Economists warn American businesses pay those tariffs and then raise prices for consumers. By one estimate, the price of a new car could shoot up more than $6,000 by next year. Aman Singh, the general manager at a Toyota dealership in New York, says he's been flooded with calls from shoppers concerned prices are going to rise.
We've been telling them, hey, listen, we have cars here. If you pick something I have here, it's that price.
But President Trump telling those Americans not to worry.
Mr. President, should Americans buy cars now if they want to avoid higher prices?
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to have a country that's going to boom.
And despite the markets tumbling, the president showing no signs of backing away from those tariffs. He says they will go into effect on Thursday, 25% on all cars and auto parts made outside of the United States. The president says they will be permanent. Whit.
As you noted, just days away. Rachel Scott, thank you. Now to the second couple making their first official trip abroad, visiting U.S. troops stationed in Greenland. The plan scaled back, though, amid pushback from people who live there and in Europe over President Trump's stated desire to annex the island. ABC's senior national correspondent Terry Moran reports from Greenland.
Vice President J.D. Vance arriving in Greenland's far north today, visiting the Space Force base dubbed the top of the world. But Vance's real mission here was much bigger.
As you've heard, we have some interest in Greenland from the Trump administration.
And Trump again today declaring in no uncertain terms this is a top U.S. priority now.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland.
All this has come as a shock to Greenlanders, many resentful of Trump's demands.
It's a big joke for him. I can just take it.
So Vance sought to gloss over Trump's high-handed approach and drive a wedge between Greenland, which is part of Denmark, and the Danish government, a U.S. ally.
My argument again to them is I think that you'd be a lot better coming under the United States security umbrella than you have been under Denmark's security umbrella.
Vance also said something Trump has not, that this issue will be decided by Greenlanders themselves.
The Greenlanders are going to choose through self-determination to become independent of Denmark, and then we're going to have conversations with the people of Greenland from there.
Here in Nuuk, Greenland's capital, the administration's efforts seem to be backfiring.
How would you say people are responding to the vice president's visit?
Well, quite negatively, to be honest. People are afraid here in Greenland, and as I talk to people are actually sleepless about this because not knowing what the future holds. Is he going to strangle us economically? Is he going to put troops on the ground? It's everybody has their own fear right now.
Vance also said, quote, "We do not think that military force will ever be necessary." The president has not said that. Meanwhile, the Danish prime minister declared simply Greenland belongs to the Greenlanders, and Greenland is a part of the Danish kingdom, and that is not going to change. Whit.
Terry Moran, thank you. Also tonight, the Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court to allow them to resume deporting Venezuelan migrants to a prison in El Salvador, invoking the rarely used Alien Enemies Act. Hundreds of Venezuelans flown to El Salvador without due process, the administration claiming they are gang members, but without providing evidence. The Department of Justice filing an emergency application to the High Court after a district court judge barred the administration from sending more flights. The DOJ saying the lower court rebuffed the president's judgments about how to protect the nation. Now to that urgent manhunt underway in New York for vandals who police say carved a swastika into a Cybertruck. Elon Musk vowing to crack down on Tesla attacks as protests against the car company are expected worldwide tomorrow. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, police in New York City are looking for the two men in this video. Police said the pair carved the word Nazis and a swastika onto the doors of a Tesla Cybertruck parked in Brooklyn before fleeing on foot. Police are also looking for these two masked individuals in connection with a red swastika painted on a different Cybertruck in Manhattan. It's not only vandalism, police say, it's a possible hate crime. They're all part of a growing number of attacks against Tesla across the country. from Las Vegas to Seattle to Fargo, North Dakota. And they come as Tesla chief Elon Musk leads the Trump administration's cuts to the federal workforce. Scores of protests outside dealerships. A Tesla owner says he was driving in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, when his car's cameras captured a red Acura passing him, making a U-turn, then attempting to block the road, the driver asking not to be identified.
He pulled over super close to my car and just started screaming the F word towards me and my child.
The FBI has announced a new task force to investigate these incidents, and Musk telling Fox News,
"We're going to go after them." And the president's made it clear, we're going to go after them.
For added security, Whit, Tesla activated the cameras in every vehicle parked at dealerships. Tomorrow, activists are calling for a day of action at every Tesla showroom in the country. Whit?
Aaron Katersky, our thanks to you tonight. When we come back, King Charles seen for the first time since he was in the hospital, and shocking new details about a doctor accused of attempting to kill his wife on a trail in Hawaii. Plus, America Strong, the story behind this viral moment of joy on a school bus. Next tonight, disturbing new details about a doctor accused of attacking his wife in Hawaii. According to court documents, the wife saying she was concerned about taking a photo with Gerhard Koenig too close to the edge of a trail. After she refused, she says Koenig pushed her into the bushes and struck her in the head with a rock. She called for help and was able to crawl to witnesses. That's when the wife claims he took out 2 syringes and tried to use them on her. Koenig ran off and was later caught by officers. He's now charged with attempted murder. Overseas to London now, where King Charles was seen in public for the first time since his hospital visit. He waved to well-wishers as he was heading to his country home, where the king is expected to spend the weekend. The palace saying he experienced temporary side effects following ongoing treatment for cancer yesterday. His events canceled today. When we come back, the first state to ban fluoride in public drinking water. Will others follow? To the index now, Utah is the first state to ban fluoride in public drinking water. The governor signing a law that goes into effect in May. Some municipalities have recently banned fluoride over concerns from inconclusive studies that link the mineral to lower intellectual development in children. Other states are considering similar bans. Many health officials say fluoride strengthens teeth and reduces cavities and is considered safe at low levels. The Tidal Basin in Washington, D.C. is swimming in pink tonight. The cherry blossoms are in peak bloom. That means 70% of the trees are fully blossomed. They draw millions of visitors every year. Japan gave the trees to the U.S. in 1912 as a gift of friendship. What a sight. When we come back, America Strong, the incredible surprise for students caught on camera. Finally tonight, America Strong, a surprise for student band members and the viral celebration. The Greene Central High School Concert Band in Snow Hill, North Carolina. About 40 student musicians recently performing in a statewide competition for the first time since 1987. They've never won the top honor. Afterwards, band director Andrew Howell delivering the results.
So, oh God. Like I said, this is a growing experience.
The students appearing disappointed at first, heads down, expecting the worst.
And just coming and being a part of this was a really important thing.
But Andrew had a surprise.
But we're also the first in school history to get us.
A roar of cheers from the front to the back of the bus. The celebration video going viral, more than 13 million views on TikTok. Band member Haley Kinsler.
I hope a lot of people do end up seeing this, and I hope when they see this that like they can feel as emotional as we felt, and they can like feel as accomplished as we felt for us or for themselves.
And tonight, that band director hoping this moment can help shine a light on the value of music in schools.
It was just as big of a surprise to me as to the students when we did get it. But one thing I've seen on the comments a lot is that this is why music in our schools is so important. So it's really nice when they get the recognition like my students have as well.
Recognition well deserved. I'm Whit Johnson. Have a great night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.